It's not ideal for Texas Tech and their hopes to get up on that 3 line. They fall at TCU 69-66, and really one of the worst games that we've seen Texas Tech play in a long time. A team that prides themselves on, well, no turnovers and really being, a force on the perimeter in terms of defense. That's something that they've gotten better at really through this great stretch that they've had in the Big 12. It wasn't pretty tonight. And, TCU, Taz White shot he had the best night of his career shooting, and that's not, me trying to hype bro up. It's a fact. He had his best shooting night of his career. I thought that the refs were something. I just want consistency on both ends. That's not the reason Texas Tech lost, though. Texas Tech legitimately just got abused in the paint. They got out rebounded. There was no physicality from either Fetty, D5, or JT Toppin. None whatsoever. TCU absolutely dominated in that regard of the game. But before we get into the stats and everything like that, you know how it is here on the channel. One word to describe that Texas Tech loss at TCU. Let me know in the comments. We'll give some shout outs here. And while you're down there, you might as well like the video as well if you want 100% free Texas Tech content. That was a game that you had no business losing. I get it. It's hard to win in Fort Worth for Texas Tech. There's some demons there, this, that, and the other. I totally get it. But that's a terrible loss. There's just no way to say it other than that's a terrible loss in a game that it feels like is going to come back and bite you in the ass when it comes to seed line. You already had one bad loss in UCF. TCU is a better loss. At least they're in the top 76 of the net when you played them anyway. But overall, this was just a bad loss. You played uncharacteristic basketball. I thought this was the worst game that CA has had. Christian Anderson in Big 12 play. He just wasn't good tonight. Again, he's not the reason you lost the game, but he just wasn't good. It felt like every time you had an open look in the first half, you just couldn't hit it. Even if they gave you the $4.1 million Cody Campbell got today, and it wasn't million, it was billions. Excuse me. My apologies, Cody. I just thought you played really your most uncharacteristic game of the entire season. At least when you were at Arizona. Obviously, Arizona's a much better team than TCU. You played your brand of basketball. It's just Arizona's really good, right? In this game, you never played your brand of basketball. Everything that Grant McCasland prides this program on, I thought they were really bad for about 35 minutes. There were about 5 minutes, maybe 8, so 32 to 35 minutes there in terms of Texas Tech just being bad. There were a couple of glimpses there where you're like, okay, Texas Tech is back on track. We're good to go here. They're going to close this out. We'll be fine. But in the end, no, that wasn't the case at all. Give credit to TCU in some regards in the sense of the refs were bad. Again, not the reason you lost, but TCU capitalized on it more than Texas Tech in the sense of TCU wanted to go downhill more. Texas Tech settled on a lot of things. I still don't understand how that was a timeout call there late with about 30 seconds left. I was always taught if one team has, possession of the basketball when the other team has possession of the basketball as well, that's a jump ball. But again, Big 12 sucks in officiating all around, but that's not the reason you lost this basketball game. It's not. I should stop harping on the refs. Let's get to the actual stats here as they're on your screen. And again, I'd be remiss not to mention, be sure to like the video and hit that subscribe button for 100% free, authentic Texas Tech content all year long. This is the Red Raider stat line. Outside of JT Toppin, D5, and Chance McMillian, I don't know if anybody else knew that you could shoot a basketball and the ball could go in. It was a bad shooting night for virtually everybody. Kerwin Walton had multiple open threes, missed both of them. And you're going to notice that the free throw discrepancy in this game is pretty drastic. In fact, let's look at overall stuff here. This is a little bit clearer indication. I thought Noah Reynolds was good in the end. Uday was fantastic for them. down low, really set the tone from a physicality perspective. Again, he had almost as many offensive rebounds by himself as Texas Tech had as a team. And we talked about it in terms of what Texas Tech needed to do in order to win this game, right? And it was continue to do what they're best at, which, funny enough, is out rebound the other team. You wouldn't know it by looking at this game. But Texas Tech, I thought, again, I see some people in the chat saying too many threes, this, that, and the other. Listen, folks, that's this team, right? And they shot 36%. You can't get mad at that. The reason you lost this game is you turned the ball over 13 times. You couldn't get a damn offensive rebound, and it felt like every time TCU got an offensive rebound, they converted on it. Okay, that was the reason you lost this game, right? You weren't physical enough. You made uncharacteristic mistakes with the basketball in your hand. You did not play downhill at all whatsoever, and you were, I hate to say this, you were soft for a lot of this game, right? Like you just were. You relied way too much on D5, JT Toppin, and Chance McMillian to take you to the promised land. When three guys score 54 points out of your 66, you're probably not going to win too many games on that front. And that's just a fact from that perspective. But let's go look at the overall stats just from a Texas Tech point of view, right? Here we go. You can see them on your screen right there. Points in the paint, 34. It's not bad. At halftime, I think it was 12. So you had 22 in the second half. Points off turnovers, even 1 for 1 in terms of 9 and 9 there. Second chance points, you had 10. Let's go look at the discrepancy, though. Again, offensive rebounding here. Remember, Texas Tech had 7. TCU had 15. Second chance points was 17 compared to Texas Tech's 10. Yeah, that's one of the main reasons you lost this basketball game. If you were Texas Tech, it felt like there were multiple opportunities for Texas Tech to just go and take this one, and they didn't. And credit to TCU. I forget the exact stat. Somebody let me know in the comments. I know TCU was really good at home when it comes to top 10 teams, and good for them. You had Desmond Bain going into the whatever they call it. I don't know if it's Ring of Honor, hung his jersey up. At least that one was right side up, unlike Terrence Shannon. But it's just one of those deals where, for me, the things that stand out the most in this game are not the threes taken whatsoever. It's the fact that you got out physicaled when it comes to O boards. You got doubled up and then some on that. You lost the rebounding battle. You had way too many turnovers in this one. I thought Elijah was good down the stretch, except for those 2 bad passes he had. But when you have so much reliance on guys like Chance, D5, JT, and no one else is stepping up, and a guy like Christian Anderson fouls out and just uncharacteristically has a freshman-type performance in a season where, yes, he is a freshman, but he looks like one for the first time. It's just one of those deals, man, where at the end of the day, like, you played really bad if you were Texas Tech in this game, in my opinion. And it's going to hurt you. You gave TCU, a little bit of life. They're going to be up on the bubble probably now after this, and rightfully so. They just knocked off a top 10 team in the country. And now if you're Texas Tech, don't look now, but your schedule gets super difficult. Simple and plain. You're playing another team that's on the bubble in West Virginia that's hungry for a top 10 win. Can they do so out in Lubbock? Because, hey, like you have to have that if you're West Virginia in order to get in, to solidify, your chances. And then after that, you play Houston on Big Monday there in the 806, and then you go out to Kansas. And again, I know Kansas is getting shellacked right now, last time that I checked, in terms of playing BYU. But at the end of the day, like, things are about to get difficult. We've seen Texas Tech respond, but, that's definitely not the performance you wanted to see. All right. Let's see what we've got over here in the comments. I'm going to scroll all the way back up. I appreciate each and every one of y'all tuning in. We have about 100 and, at least it says on my end, 150 people watching. Be sure to like the video. Hit that subscribe button. Best way to support the channel. If you want more of these lives, we're going to be going live during Selection Sunday. So if you want to be a part of that, best way to, support the channel is simply liking the video and hitting that subscribe button. Brandon was the first one that hopped in here. as I go full screen on you guys here. JT, unfortunately, can't go superhuman every night. I always hate when we play at TCU in basketball or football. Yeah, they jack up the ticket prices. Although my buddy did say that they had $3 beer tonight. So I didn't know TCU was chill like that on that front, but good for the Horned Frogs on that front. But yeah, I mean, it feels like it's a demon place for Texas Tech to play. And again, I wish I could remember that stat. It was like TCU is now in their last 10 games. I think they've won 8 of them against top 10 teams there at Schollmaier. So tough for sure. What do we got here? When will they learn that good things happen when you drive to the basket? Again, like I've seen a couple people say this in the comments. So listen, you cannot get upset at Texas Tech when they don't drive in this game and be happy with them when they shoot the lights out. This is a 3-point shooting team. They are going to live and die by it. Tonight, they played arguably their worst game of basketball in the Big 12 in a hostile environment, and they lost by 3, right? Like TCU had every opportunity to blow the absolute brakes off of Texas Tech, but they fought and they, again, the 3 ball kept them in there. And that's what this team does. It's just at the end of the day, I think a lot of those mistakes that, again, I've said it and I sound like a broken record, that are uncharacteristic for Texas Tech, bit them in the ass this game. And, that's going to happen some nights. And unfortunately, that was tonight out in, I can't even call it Lubbock East anymore. I hope the TCU fans find that preview out in Fort Worth. Even though it did sound like Lubbock East, there was a shit ton of Red Raiders there. MJ, you hopped on over to YouTube. Appreciate you, MJ. You started the game on a 7-0 run and stopped playing after that. Never even attempted to put them away like they did to OSU. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, it's one of those deals where they had multiple guys shoot really well tonight, but they were also just way more aggressive, I think, from the jump. I thought Texas Tech made a couple shots, but at the end of the day, it is what it is. They were just more aggressive when it came down to it. Good game from the Frogs. Refs were horrible, though. Okay. I'm going to start putting y'all on the screen. How about that? There we go. That from Mr. Armstrong, 48. Last shot was clearly a foul, rigged as hell. I don't know about rigged as hell. It's just the officiating in the Big 12 is ass. I mean, it's just ass. Let's see here. Sick of the officiating, no consistency. John, I'm right there with you, honestly. And maybe we're wrong in this, John. Hear me out on what I'm about to say. Maybe it is consistent, but it's consistently bad. Technically, that's a type of consistent. You and I both hate it, that's for sure, but technically that's consistent. Appreciate you tuning in, John. TCU got the game handed to them at the end, excuse me. JT was heavy fouled on the shot, but whatever. That's why TCU is not making March Madness. We are making it places they are not. Yeah, I think TCU's on the bubble now. We'll see for sure. But it is at the end of the day really, really frustrating for sure. Again, let's get a couple of these. We got Coop on here. This is because you called it Lubbock East, man. Okay, fair enough. But to be fair, Coop, like everybody calls it Lubbock East. And to be fair, it doesn't negate the fact that it's true. Like, even if Texas Tech lost, like I heard Raider Power more than whatever the hell they yell. I don't even know because you can never hear it on TV. Texas Tech fans show out every time, but like at the same time, maybe you're right. I can accept my maybe 0.5% blame in this. I can accept that, Coop, for sure. Let's see. Let's get to these one words. We've got Aaron saying frustrating. Wholeheartedly agree. We've got Dolphin with sunglasses on. Gas. Garbage. Yeah, absolutely. Uninspired by MJ. Scripted. Adam, I don't think it was scripted. I just think Texas Tech wasn't aggressive whatsoever. Terrible by the sneaker man. Yep, I agree. 100%. Have a day, RC. We are still good, man. Yeah, I think so too. And by the way, he's saying have a day because of probably my favorite hat. I forgot I was wearing a Texas Tech hat. Most of the time I don't do it, but it is what it is. It matched the pullover today, so I ran with it, and sometimes you just got to match, people. You got to match. Mr. Armstrong says we were due for a loss. Yeah, but here's the thing. If you played the brand of basketball that you typically play, you don't lose this game. I think the frustrating part is not the fact that TCU even forced you to play a brand of basketball that you weren't comfortable with. It's that you were sloppy. You were lazy. You were lethargic on really guarding screens on the defensive side. You were lazy with the ball offensively and had a really high turnover rate that Texas Tech isn't accustomed to. I mean, it's not that TCU didn't force some of those turnovers. There were just some blatant, like, bonehead, what the hell are you doing type plays. I can think of two from Christian Anderson, one where he passed it to D5 and Grant McCassin looked at him and just yelled, like, you're the point guard. What are you doing? Like, and then there was obviously that Elijah Hawkins one. I mean, I think overall, the big thing for me is like the more frustrating aspect of this loss is did TCU play well? Sure, they played well. But I thought Texas Tech just played flat out bad for about 35 minutes of this game. And that's the reason you lost. Now, is some of it due to TCU? Sure, I can get behind that. But I think a vast majority of it is just you. You did not play your brand of basketball, and it bit you in the ass today. That's just really what it came down to. What else? Is that a Q2 loss? Yeah, I think it'll probably be a Q1 loss now because they beat you. They were on that line where it was like, where for them it's going to be a quad one win, obviously. But for Texas Tech, they'll move up, TCU into the top 75. So it'll be a quad one loss, I think, which sucks. But it could be worse, I guess. Let's see. I mean, the same thing happened with 22 team, but whatever. That's whatever. Not losing another Big 12 game. Trust me. Hey, I will be in Kansas. I think Texas Tech wins at Kansas, but we'll see what happens. Patrick says better now than in March. Totally agree with that. King of Pecan. I'm not a pecan fan, to be honest. Not really a big pie guy. I know that that's going to be a hot take to some people. Let me know if I'm crazy in the comments, but not a big pie guy. Not going to be a 3 seed now. No, you're not. No. Well, okay. Hold on. If you beat both Houston and Kansas, you will be. Yes. And you win out. You'll be a 3 seed still. But there's not much wiggle room for that now. I think you'll probably end up being a 4 seed when it's all said and done. Let's see. I remember listening to the recap Twitter space after this exact same game happened in 2022. Yeah, I mean, it feels like Texas Tech just has some damn demons in that building, man. Like, I don't know what it takes for Texas Tech to win there. But shit, wasn't tonight, obviously. Let's see. Every time we get ranked high, we lose a game we're supposed to win and blow it. It's what we do. I mean, I guess. But also at the same time, like, let's say you beat West Virginia at home, which you should. You're probably going to be about 7.5-point favorites in that one. I mean, you probably fall from like 9 to 12. I mean, you're kind of back where you were before last week. But that doesn't matter at the end of the day when it comes down to it. Let's see. Christopher, who cares what seed number Tech is in March Madness as long as they're in March Madness? Well, yeah, Christopher, I kind of agree, but also at the same time, I really want to avoid Auburn. I really want to avoid, like, Florida, if possible. Would be a lot of fun. Like winning the Natty for TCU every year. Yeah, I mean, that just to be a Texas Tech hater, you put one of your best, you schedule it, and again, it's because it's the All-Star break. I just want to be a bona fide hater here. You schedule this in terms of Bane going up in the Raptors in his jersey on a night where Texas Tech is in town. You raise the ticket prices to astronomical things. In this economy, $150 to go watch TCU? Come on now. What are we doing here? Yeah, at the end of the day. Okay, let's see here. Let's see. Ban TCU's weird ass court. Yeah, that shit's ass. I will admit that for sure. Yeah, last year's seeding did matter. No, 100%. I think at the end of the day, Texas Tech is going to end up being a 4 when it's all said and done. But it's one of those things too where it's like, okay, if let's say you flip or you split, excuse me, in terms of playing Houston and Kansas, right? Let's say you just split there. Like, How much does that help you? I don't know. I think you're probably going to be a 4 seed if I'm being honest with you. Um, but it'll be interesting. I mean, from that standpoint, just from the vantage point of, okay, like I understand Kansas is not great right now, but you might have caught a break with Houston coming back to your place in the sense that, hey, it's going to be a really quick turnaround for them. It's going to be on Big Monday. So you're going to have that. So that's going to be a really quick turnaround for Houston. And then you have a little bit longer of a time period before you go up to Lawrence and you play, Kansas, right? So I don't know, man. I think those are the two games that really matter the most. You're more talented than every other team you play. I think you're more talented than Kansas as well. The only one that, feels like, okay, a coin flip, and maybe I feel a little bit better about it is, the Houston aspect just because you're at home. But, tonight sucked. I mean, they sucked tonight. I mean, they just didn't play their brand of basketball whatsoever, and that's infuriating. It really is infuriating. Um, let's say Michael says it's a loss. It sucks, but gotta believe this team will get right one game at a time. Yeah, I mean, call me crazy. Like I can say this is a terrible loss. I'm right there with you guys, but it was so uncharacteristic. I just don't see this kind of performance happening again, mostly because you have a guy like Grant McCasland, right? Like TCU won the game, right? But you gave TCU a plethora of opportunities to be in that game. And a lot of it came from the fact that you were not aggressive whatsoever on their pick and roll, and they just continuously got downhill. I just don't see Tech playing like that again. And again, I could be wrong as soon as Saturday, but that's just a frustrating loss and one that you're going to look back on and feel like, damn, like we should have had that shit. Like we should have had it. And we just didn't at the end of the day. Christian says, terrible loss. Let's all of us in chat show up for West Virginia. I'll be there cheering. I will be watching at home. Not because, it is what it is, but yeah, at the end of the day. Let's see. Tonight sucked, but I guess we feel like we lost, but they didn't beat us. We gave it away. Yeah, I get that for sure. I think the opposite. Tech plays down to the teams, but I mean, I could argue that they just beat the shit out of Oklahoma State, right? Like, I think it goes both ways, though, right? Like, you've seen Texas Tech respond every time after they have, a loss or they play bad. You know what I mean? So it's like, okay, cool. But I get it. Oh, burn that hat. No, I'm good. I'm gonna keep it. I actually kind of like this one. I'm not a big snapback guy, but I'm a rocket. I'm a rocket. Thanks for the suggestion, though. DMB 7280, whatever the hell that is. Thank you, though. Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, but they can't play like this come March Madness. That for Christian. Yeah, I agree. I agree for sure. But I'll ask you guys this: when did Texas Tech play like that this year? You're only going to say one game in the Big 12, and I know what game it's going to be. It's going to be the UCF game. They haven't played like that, right? Like even in the Arizona State game, they didn't play like that. Like they turned the ball over a shit ton tonight in uncharacteristic ways. Let's see. Good loss made our win a quad one. Okay, there you go. So technically tonight you got a quad one win and a quad one loss. Okay. Who really won here? Just kidding. Just kidding. Just kidding. I promise. Let's see. It couldn't be a Texas Tech game without the heartache. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's always this, once or twice a year where you're just like, what the hell is happening right here? I mean, it is what it is from that standpoint. Okay, they have turnovers. I see your comment. They have turnovers. I get that, right? And every team does. It's college basketball. But you average, right? When you look at it, you average about 10 per game. You had 13 tonight. I mean, that's a difference right there. And not to mention, you pile on the fact that you couldn't box out to save a goddamn life. It is what it is. Like, you played like shit tonight. There's just no other way around it. But at the same time, I think it was a lot more of not TCU. It was more of you, and you're going to go in and you're going to get right for this West Virginia game. And the nice thing is, if you're Texas Tech, you go West Virginia and Houston back to back, you don't have to travel. Okay. You do not travel again until you go to Kansas on March 1st. Right. So think about that. You're going to have that opportunity as well to stay home, rest, get ready for that, home stretch before you go to Kansas City and everything like that after you play Colorado and Arizona State to end the year. But you're in a good spot. I mean, it's just you didn't play your brand of basketball, I think, when it came down to it. They'll be just fine. Let's see here. I saw somebody say, here it is. I don't feel like we are legit. We really only had one big win, and it was at Houston. Don't get me wrong. We were good, but not 9 good. It showed tonight versus shitty-ass TCU team, court, and fans. Well, again, though, like, even great teams have bad nights. Like, that's just a fact, right? So it's like, okay, Texas Tech is 100% legit, right? I don't know what your expectations are for this team. I've never wavered from them. After the St. Joe's loss, never wavered. After the UCF loss, never wavered, right? Like, and I'm not going to waver after this one. This team is Sweet 16 good, okay? And when you make the Sweet 16, if you go, have a bounce go your way in this game and a bounce go your way in that game, you're probably playing in San Antonio in the Final Four, okay? This team is all kinds of legit. They just played like shit tonight, and they still almost won. TCU played their best offensive brand of basketball against anybody that's remotely good all year, right? You just came out. You weren't physical at all. You played like dog shit on the boards. You played only really good defense for 4 minutes, and it was the first 4 minutes of the damn game. And then you uncharacteristically had a ton of turnovers. That was it. That's the trifecta right there. And not to mention, TCU shot better from 3 than their season average by quite a bit. They got to the free throw line more than you, and that's because they were more aggressive, right? It's, one of those situations where it's like, don't throw out the film, learn from it, but learn from it quickly, and they should against West Virginia. I'm not too worried at all. I think this Texas Tech team is all kinds of legit. Absolutely all kinds of legit. Let's see. RC, I appreciate your honesty in football and basketball. Sincerely, huge respect. I appreciate that, Christopher. Thanks for tuning in. This from Cody. I would love at least one season where we're on the table and be the undisputed best team. Yeah, well, Cody, I ain't gonna lie to you, man. I would too. But that is going to be difficult as hell in this conference. Like, I get it. Everybody's in love with the SEC this year. Big 12 is still really freaking good, especially at the top. And Texas Tech is one of those teams. Bad night, Wreckham. Agree, Lucas. It sucks when you do it to yourself, right? Like, if TCU just would have came out and absolutely blitzed your ass, it's like, okay, you just had a bad night. They had their best night of the year. Like, good for you, right? Did TCU have their best night of the year? No, but it was probably closer to it, right? You just had your worst night of the year in terms of really 3 fundamental principles of your program. And TCU took advantage of it. That's all I got to say on that front. Again, be sure to like the video, hit that subscribe button, turn on that notification bell. I'll answer a couple more questions here before I head out. Let's see. RC, I'm sad, man. But we will be good. Love the show. I appreciate that. Appreciate you tuning in. Yeah, I'm not too worried again. I'm right there with you guys. It sucks that they lost, but you're still in a really good position. I forgot who said it in the chat. Who said that this was the or who brought up that this is the best start in program history? I want to give credit. Here we go. Yeah, it's still the best start in program history, people. Like, from the standpoint of the Big 12, you're still there. Like, just best conference. So, best conference start. So, again, it sucks, but it is at the end of the day, you lost. You didn't play your brand of basketball. Let's see. I might just be saying, hey, I can expect Zeke. I can respect that, man. I'm pissed too. Like, again, I think this loss pisses me off because you did it to yourself. Again, if TCU just came out and beat the shit out of you, Tip your cap, let's go home. You know what I mean? But you just so many self-inflicted wounds, man. Just so many self-inflicted wounds. It just sucks from that perspective. I 100% agree, RC. We always find a way to stay in it no matter how bad we play. Yeah, exactly. And I think that's the sign of a great team, right? Like, even on your worst nights, and this was far closer to Texas Tech's worst night than their best, they still almost beat a TCU team that played probably what? If we're giving a grade for TCU tonight, they probably played like an A- game. TC and Texas Tech probably played what? C- at best? C-? Do we want to go D here? I think C- is fair. That's a huge discrepancy, especially in a building that you haven't had a ton of success in, if you're Texas Tech. So it is what it is, like I said. Let's see. You will beat my Mountaineers. They have 300 less attempts at the free throw line and 124 more fouls called on them. This should be right. Damn. That's crazy. Is that real, Daniel? That's wild. Big 12 refs, man. We can all agree. Every fan base in the Big 12 can agree. Big 12 refs suck ass. You got to fix it, Big 12. You got to fix it. Let's answer a couple more. My concern is we have had 3 out of the last 4 games that haven't been good. ACU game was a steal. I can agree with that. Momentum is going the other way. I don't think momentum is going the other way. I just think you may be regressing to the mean a little bit, but your mean is still elite, in my opinion, right? Are you the best team in the Big 12? No. I probably got ahead of myself saying you had a chance at that too. I think that that's Houston, and I think that they've earned that, even if Tech has beaten them. What Houston has done so far this season has been really, really impressive. Arizona is good as well. I think if you're Texas Tech, you're clearly a top 4 team in the second best conference in America. And some nights you have bad nights. Other nights you look like you can beat the shit out of anybody, i.e. what you did to Oklahoma State, right? Like, that's what it is. But you're far more closer in terms of frequency, the games at Oklahoma State, than you are tonight, in my opinion. Maybe I'm wrong there. Love the hat. Where did you get it? Red Raider Outfitter. Hashtag not a sponsor, but if you want to be, let me know, Red Raider Outfitter, if you know anybody. Let's see. After letting off some steam, it was just a bad night for us. We'll be back for sure. I agree for that. I definitely agree with that for sure. Let's see. Why not more Yahoo? Yeah, that's a good question. I think at this point it's like I think it's just one of those deals where it's like, like if he's not playing now, I don't know why he would play in the future, if that makes sense. Like, I like some of his skill sets, but he's also one of those bigs where I think he's solid for spurts, but he's not the kind of big that Grant McCasland traditionally likes out there. Like it or not, I'm just telling you what I know. You're not going to like it, but it is what it is. Grant McCasland probably wants to have a big closer to Fetty long-term than anything else. Just being honest about it. And you see that they got the 4-star from Canada. He's pretty close to what Fetty is, except he's got more of an offensive game, right? Like, that's the prototype. He wants a long, rangy, athletic big. That's a solid screen setter, can be an anchor on defense and go from there. That's it, at the end of the day. So I don't know. I think you might see a little bit more Yahoo here moving forward, just from the standpoint of you want to keep those bigs, as fresh as possible. But at the same time, it is what it is at this point. Yeah, Renee. So a finesse big guy. Yeah, that's what he wants. More than anything. I think because I know some people are going to be like, oh, well, Grant McCasland preaches physicality. Agreed. But he wants physicality from a team perspective, not just an individual, if that makes sense. I know that I might have not explained that well, but hopefully that makes sense. Federico is falling off. Yeah, I just think Fetty is what he is. I think Fetty is absolutely great at what he is, but he's also absolutely infuriating at sometimes too. Like, the highs of Fetty, you're just like, hell yeah, brother. You know what I mean? And then the other ones, it's like, how does this guy have a scholarship outside of being 7 feet tall? there's both moments there. You know what I'm saying? Like, I get it. And the crazy part is you could see it in literally back-to-back possessions. Like one on offense where he's just like, dude, like, ow, how do you not catch that ball? And then the other one, it's like, yo, he just packed the shit out of that guy. Good for him. Good for him. You know what I mean? It's frustrating for sure. But it is, at the end of the day, you know, still a terrible loss, in my opinion. But, you know, Tech did it to themselves. Like, TCU was more aggressive. They earned a lot of those foul calls. Some were suspect, but again, that's not the reason you lost this basketball game. You got absolutely blitzed in terms of the physicality. You got blitzed in terms of rebounding. You could not possess the basketball in terms of your typical turnover rate. I thought you just made some uncharacteristic mistakes, most notably from Christian Anderson. And then Fetty as well, just from the standpoint of, I thought he was just not good at screening tonight. You basically just, you know, it's just one of those deals where it's like, at the end of the day, like, you basically just ask Chance, D5, and Toppin to save you. And most of the time that's going to work. But, you know, hey, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it doesn't. But I'm going to wrap it up there. Again, appreciate y'all tuning in here on a Tuesday night. Unfortunately, our Red Raiders fall 69-66 at TCU. I just realized I have a typo in the title. Fallas? I don't know what that is, but it is what it is. I was trying to, get this out quick to you guys. Apologies on that front, but it is what it is. Appreciate y'all tuning in. If you haven't already, be sure to like the video, hit that subscribe button, and turn on that notification bell. And if you want more live videos here on the channel, and if you just want daily updates on your Red Raiders, whether it's on the gridiron or the hardwood, it's 100% free content all year long. 100% honest. I'm just like you guys. I just have raw emotion. I am a fan at the end of the day that is lucky enough to have this great platform that y'all have helped me create. So if y'all want to be a part of it, like the video, hit that subscribe button, turn on that notification bell to stay in the know on all things Texas Tech men's basketball all year long, right here on the largest group of Texas Tech fans on YouTube and the Back to 12 podcast channel. And hey, as always, you know what to do. Stay safe and Wreck 'em Tech.